So I have a problem. I have a patch. I don't have any drywall. I do have mesh tape. So let's see if I can make this work with mesh tape and Durabond. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some mesh tape a little bit longer than this hole. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're going to cut several pieces about the same length. Clean that edge off a little bit. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off, and one at a time, I'm going to put them in like this. Now, I don't know if you can see it. I'll show you in a couple minutes. But I'm putting it inside the hole. Okay, so let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So as you can see, I've indented that mesh tape. So what that's going to do is that's going to support the Durabond as I put it in there so it doesn't fall out, and it's going to create a backer. I'm going to use Durabond 20, and I'm going to let it set. I'm probably going to accelerate it with a hair dryer, but I'm also going to cut these ends off a little bit. They don't need to be that long. Just wanted them long enough so I could get my inset correct. So now let me cut those off and let me get my Durabond mixed, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I have my Durabond mixed up. Didn't take me long, it's 20, and I just mixed it in my pan. So let's pack this with Durabond now. And I don't have a lot, I have just enough to pack in that hole. Okay, so that's all I want to do. Okay, so let me give you a close-up picture of that, and you'll see exactly what I'm doing. And then what I'll do is I'll scrape that down and level that off a little bit when it dries. And I am going to use a hair dryer, to accelerate that a little bit. But let's take a closer look. Yeah, you can smooth that out a little bit. Smooth it out a little bit as it works. Okay, but it doesn't have to be perfect because we're just going to recoat it. We're going to actually put more mesh tape on that after that dries. So let's get it accelerated and get it finished. Okay, so this is set enough, and we're gonna kind of sculpt it a little bit and scrape it down a little bit, make sure there's no high spots, and then we're gonna put more mesh on it, and I'll show you how we're gonna do that too. So, just kind of any high spot that might be on there. You can see that there's a little bit of mud coming off of there, and so that's okay. So we're good. So now I'm going to change the direction of my mesh tape. I'm going to go up and down with it. And I'm going to overlap it by about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and I'll put one more there just to finish this up. Okay, so very nice. So I am ready to mix up some more Durabond 20, and we're gonna coat that bad boy and see how it turns out. Let me give you a close-up. So there you go. So no drywall in there. I used mesh as a backer and filled it with Durabond. The Durabond is set, and I was able to sculpt it a little bit. And now we've got the mesh tape, the finished mesh tape. Now I'm going to coat that with Durabond. So I'm going to give you a close-up on how I do this. So I'm going to spread my mud up. I'll start in the middle. I only need to do three spans of the knife. Okay, so there you go. So I got all my mud on there. Now I'm going to clean the edges up a little bit. Remember, I don't want any ridges, because those will make it hard for me to finish. And so now I'm going to try to leave a nice amount of this mud on there. So I don't want to scrape it all off. I may need to work out a few tool marks after it sets. but that's okay. In fact, I think I'm just going to leave it like that, okay? So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to put my blow dryer back on it. We're going to fast set it, and then we're going to put mold it out a little bit or sculpt it with the tool marks, and then we're going to put a skim coat on it so it'll be ready to sand. All right, so now that it's dry, and I did use a hair dryer again to accelerate that. It took about 15 minutes. So I'm going to scrape it down. We're just going to kind of sculpt it, get rid of any tool mark, get rid of any high mark. Check to see if there's any little pieces of mesh coming out that we can embed in and then coat over. But this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. So now I'm gonna do a really tight. I'm gonna do a really tight skim coat, and that skim coat will dry, and we'll be able to sand it in about 20 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go the opposite direction of what I went on that last coat. And I'm just going to put like that. Put it down. Just cover all the stuff that I've already coated. Maybe even go a little bit lower. And then I'm going to wipe all of that off. A nice tight coat. Make sure the scratches aren't in there. I'll do it. I can do it again if it doesn't look right. Okay. So I think I'll come up this way. So I'm going to do this twice actually on this one. And then I'm going to just nice tight coat. Nice and tight. Now it's running a little bit, which means I'm kind of working it a little too much, but that's all right. That'll sand out and touch up. So now I'm going to blow that dry again, and then in a few minutes we'll sand it. Okay, so it's dry and it's feeling pretty good. So I'm going to sand it just a little bit. It's not going to take much. All I'm after is getting the ridges off and a little bit of the tool mark. All right, so that feels pretty good. You get the dust off of there. There is a little bit of touch up I'd like to do just because there's a couple little, I'll call them stretch marks. And we'll get all that cleaned up really nice. Okay. All right, so there you have it. And then we're good to go on this. We can sand those little touch-ups if we want, or we can prime it and paint it.